there, Dr. Abby from the Runner Doc here. Today, let's talk about what actually a Kegel contraction is. Your pelvic floor is a basket of muscles that fit at the bottom of your pelvis, and they are responsible for supporting your pelvic organs and for contracting throughout the day as your bladder and bowels fill to hold in pee and poop. And then they relax when you have to go to the bathroom. And then also they relax for vaginal intercourse or vaginal birth. If you are working on strengthening your pelvic floor muscles, a Kegel may be the only thing you know how to do and only thing that you've ever learned to strengthen your pelvic floor. But what I want to talk about is what actually Kegel is and what is the goal. A Kegel contraction is a squeeze and a lift of these pelvic floor muscles. They sit like a basket or a hammock, like I said. So you want to think about closing the sphincters, but also lifting the muscles up towards your head like you're lifting up a hammock. That's important because oftentimes you may just be tightening and tightening and tightening and squeezing your tush and curling your toes, and that's not actually a Kegel contraction. So what I'm going to talk about are a couple of cues I often give people to properly engage their pelvic floor. The first one, and is one of my favorites, is sipping up a smoothie with your vag. I want you to think about sipping up a thick smoothie with your vagina. So that gives you that lifting, that slow contraction, and lifting maneuver that we're looking for. So let's practice it. You're going to take a deep inhale. And on the exhale, you're going to sip the smoothie with your vagina and relax and let it go. Inhale, exhale, sip up the smoothie, relax and let go. So when you're doing this, you're thinking about sipping up with your vagina or your pelvic floor, but you're also contracting a little bit of the anal sphincter. So it's really the vaginal opening, the perineal body, and the anal sphincter that are drawing up as you do a Kegel contraction, and then you relax all the way. Another great cue I like to tell people is to think about lifting up a blueberry or picking up a blueberry with your vag. Lots of food cues here, so hang with me. But if you think about it, you're sitting on a blueberry like you've got a little itty bitty marble or a blueberry underneath your vulva and vagina, and you're thinking about just picking it up, letting it fall, and picking it back up and letting it fall. So let's practice that. Take a deep breath in, pick up. Now let it fall. Good. Again, inhale. Pick it up on the exhale and let it fall. So those pelvic floor muscles are just lifting and letting go. Great ways to think about not just squeezing, but lifting as you contract the pelvic floor. Men can also do this. Don't just think about picking up with a vagina, but think about you're going to be squeezing those pelvic floor muscles, lifting and contracting again. Again, you're going to feel the anal sphincter. A good way to practice this also is stopping the flow of urine when you're going to the bathroom. Don't do this frequently, but it's a good way to get that feel of tightening and lifting and then relaxing and letting go. Two other ways that you can actually check to do it at home, like I said, are the sitting and hovering over the toilet. And when you're peeing, try to stop your pee. If you're not able to stop your stream, then that's something that you need to work on. That's a key go-to contraction because you're closing the urinary contraction that helps keep the urine in, and that is a key goal. I don't want you, though, like I said, doing those Kegel contractions while you're urinating all the time or ever expect for one time just to check and that be it. You're going to have to do it a couple of times, but it's to help you get the feel of it and know what you should be feeling. But then you take that feeling of that contraction and stopping the flow and add it to other exercises in your activities that we're going to talk about. It's pretty groovy how to do this, but hang with me. The other way to check is inserting your finger into your vagina as a female. So if you're able and comfortable inserting a clean finger into the vaginal opening, you're going to insert it all the way in to the third knuckle, and you're just going to rest the pad of your finger on the side walls of the vagina. And if you're resting your finger on the side walls, you're actually going to be resting it on the pelvic floor muscles. And as you do a Kegel contraction, you'll feel a bit of an engagement or a flicker of those muscles turning on. A flicker, a squeeze, you may even feel a little lift, and that's a Kegel contraction. If you feel something pushing your finger out or bearing down, that is the opposite of the goal here with a Kegel contraction. And that may be when you want to take a step back, potentially check in with a pelvic floor therapist like me, and start again. But again, insert your finger pad, rest on the sidewall of your muscle, try sipping a smoothie, try picking up the blueberry, stopping your stream of urine or holding in gas. That's another good cue for men and think about that maneuver to lift up and feel some of that pressure and lift up your pelvic floor muscles. Let's talk about what a Kegel is. A Kegel is not pushing out. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm pushing out, like I'm pooping or giving birth or pushing urine out, that's the opposite of Kegel contraction and can actually weaken and lengthen your muscles over time. You can actually take a mirror again, if you feel comfortable, and watch what your pelvic floor is doing. Watch what the vaginal opening is doing. And as you push and bear down and you say, okay, if I see it opening, that's the opposite of the goal here. And then try and do a Kegel and you see it lifting and closing. That's a Kegel. And you may need to practice it a few times, watching or observing to ensure that you're doing it properly. We're going to talk a little bit more about how to do Kegel contractions and do other exercises that help strengthen your pelvic floor later on the channel, so stay tuned.